Another source of big wins for patients is from a newer class of drugs called antibody drug conjugates, or ADCs. Despite the acronym, this still sounds complicated. So, Dr. Tolaney, what are these new drugs and what do we patients need to know?
So I've been very excited about these new class of drugs called antibody drug conjugates. I think of them as smart bombs. So they're a really clever way to deliver chemotherapy in a targeted manner right into the cancer cell. So the idea behind it is if we can find a target on the cancer cell, so a protein that's just sitting on that cancer cell surface, and if we can develop an antibody that can hone in on that cancer cell and target that receptor on the cell, and if that antibody is linked to a bunch of chemotherapy, you can unleash all that chemotherapy right into the cancer cell in a targeted delivery manner. And so the idea here is just you can deliver a very potent amount of therapy into the cell, but spare healthy cells surrounding that tumor from the toxic effects of the chemotherapy. And so we've seen that these drugs can be highly effective. And there have been a number of new antibody drug conjugates that have now been FDA approved for our patients with metastatic breast cancer. We've now seen data initially from the very first antibody drug conjugate in breast cancer, which was trastuzumab linked to DM1, so TDM1 for HER2 positive breast cancer. That drug's been around for quite a while now and has been very effective. But then we got another antibody drug conjugate called sacituzumab govitecan, which is a mouthful. It's also known as Trodelvy. I call it SASI for short. But basically, this is a drug that was initially studied in metastatic triple negative breast cancer, where we saw that this drug, when compared to standard chemotherapy, in fact, allowed women to live with their breast cancer for almost 3 times as long and allowed them to actually live longer. And so this is a very big finding because for triple negative breast cancer, for years, we did not have targeted drugs. And now this is a new targeted drug for triple negative disease. And then came along another antibody drug conjugate called trastuzumab deruxtecan, or TDXD, also known as Enhertu. This was initially approved in HER2 positive breast cancer, but now we've learned of something new called HER2 low breast cancer, where we've also seen this drug be particularly effective. So it's all super exciting because we're seeing that these drugs can work in all the different subtypes of breast cancer.
So this is amazing. And I think first, Dr. Tolaney, you should be in charge of naming all the new cancer drugs because SASI is so much easier to say. But you touched on really important things in terms of targeted therapies, which is getting the right drugs to the right patient at the right time. And there's a lot of exciting things here with this new class of drugs. For those of you watching at home, we've linked resources below to learn more. But let's talk about the right drugs to the right patient. So Thelma, I want to ask you, what does the possibility of new drugs mean for the patient community?
Well, the possibility of new drugs is extremely exciting. And in fact, the antibody drug conjugates have been all the rage in the talk in the breast cancer patient community. And mainly because patients feel that this is another weapon in their arsenal. And I'm using ADC jargon when I say weapon and arsenal. But we know that not all patients will respond to every drug. So it's very important that when patients look for the next drug, that there's something there waiting on them. And that's what patients see as the promise of these antibody drug conjugates. So it represents option and it represents hope. But the other part to that is, in addition to efficacy, patients are very concerned about toxicities and side effects. And so we know, just like any other chemotherapeutic drugs, ADCs have their own set of toxicities. But we have to balance that because we want to move forward. But I think the big thing with that is talking to patients, having good patient education, as well as shared decision making. That's going to be vital when we start targeting drugs when we try to get that right drug to the right patient at the right time. But this is a very exciting avenue, and we're looking forward to more research being done and more avenues being open for patients.